When I say The Legend of Zelda, what's the first thing that comes to mind? I think we all know. Everybody say it with me. Adventure. Yeah. I mean, I guess that works too. You know, economics is its own kind of adventure when you think about it, right? Right? No? Look, I know it might not be as flashy as fighting monsters and building whatever the heck this is, but it's no less important. People are always focused on the guy saving the world, and not the state of the world that he's trying to save. Yes, we're all very appreciative that Link got rid of that big pig cloud, but how's that gonna help me with my mortgage? Yes, the monsters swarming the kingdom are a problem. But you know what else is a problem? The fact that eggs still cost me 12 rupees a pop. Hope that joke doesn't age well. Today, I want to look into the economy of Hyrule. More specifically, I'm going to look into the 8 major settlements in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom and find out which one is statistically the most economically prosperous and sustainable. Richard, hit that intro. This video was suggested by Stylish and voted on by all my supporters on Patreon. Now, I know some people don't like this part of videos, so I'm going to do the fastest Patreon plug of my life in 3, 2, 1. Patreon is the best way to ensure that I can keep making videos like this each and every week, and you get a bunch of cool stuff on top of it. You can get access to a private Discord server with only the highest quality memes, exclusive live streams twice a month where I do video game challenges, research for videos like this, and anything else you want to see. If you're feeling a bit generous, there's a link in the description down below. Whew, see? Done already. Alright, that's enough business talk. Now let's talk, well, more business, because that's what the video's about this week. Now, as I very quickly learned while researching for this video, quantifying the economic prosperity of a town or city is pretty complicated. Doing so for a fictional town that was not at all designed with an economy in mind is even harder. Obviously, we can't get any concrete census information for Kakariko Village or business reports for the Protein Palace or... Oh, wait, actually, we can get that one. Huh, interesting. It's not great, but while we can't get exact figures, we can look for specific indicators and signs of a successful economy. I've come up with 5 criteria that we can judge each of these towns on: business growth, population, employment rate, trade, and infrastructure. If you're having trouble remembering these, don't worry. The mark of a true businessman is the ability to turn anything into a catchy mnemonic device. So, if you want to know if your town is economically prosperous, just remember Petty. Turns out I'm not a very good businessman. What we'll do today is calculate a score for each town in each of these 5 criteria, and then aggregate those into a final score. That way, we'll be able to definitively rank every town from most prosperous to least prosperous. Specifically, we're going to be looking at Kakariko Village, Hateno Village, Zora's Domain, Goron City, Rito Village, Gerudo Town, Terry Town, and Lorelin Village. The first factor to look at is business growth. Businesses are what keep an economy flowing, so the more of them there are, the better off you're gonna be. But we can't just look at the pure number of businesses. If you've got 100 stores in your town, and they're all teetering on the verge of bankruptcy, that's not too good. We also need to consider business growth over time. Luckily though, we have the perfect opportunity to do that. Tears of the Kingdom is set in the exact same world as Breath of the Wild, just 5 to 6 years later. That means that we can easily compare these towns from game to game and see how they've changed over time. I want to keep these ratings as objective as possible, so here's how the scoring is going to work. First, each town will get a point for every single business that's in operation in Tears of the Kingdom. Then they'll get an additional point for any of those businesses that weren't already there in Breath of the Wild, like the Lucky Clover Gazette that is open near Rito Village, or any business that has significantly expanded, like the Ventist Clothing Boutique in Hateno Village. Both of these are indicators that the economy is growing to enable these expansions. The next factor is population. This one's pretty simple. The more people you got, the more money they have to spend. Usually. Again, the sheer population number isn't as important as the change in population over time. Now, this one's a bit trickier to quantify. True, I could count every single person in each town in both games and see if the population has changed at all, but I'll be honest, that seems like a lot of work. Who do I look like? Any Austin? No, I'm just kidding. I'd totally have done that. But it wouldn't actually give us an accurate metric because it wouldn't account for residents who aren't currently in that town. For instance, we know that every Zora lives in Zora's domain, but most of them are out and about yelling at any traveler they can find about the divine beast. So instead, this one's going to be a bit more vibes based. I walked through each town in each game and tried to see, in general, how much more crowded it felt after 5 years, and gave each town a score from 1 to 5. A 3 means that there didn't seem to be a significant population change. Under that means that there were less people, like Zora's Domain, which had a couple of Hylians and Gorons visiting in Breath of the Wild, that were completely absent in Tears of the Kingdom. And above a 3 means there was a population increase, like in Kakariko Village, where a bunch of researchers have moved in to investigate these big ol' rocks. Then we have unemployment rate, or you know what, let's give Hyrule the benefit of the doubt. Employment rate. This one was also a bit tricky, because it's not always obvious what an NPC's job is. Like, it's pretty easy to assume that most of the people in Lorellan Village are fishermen by trade, and all the Zora standing around are guards, I guess? But I'll be honest, I have absolutely no clue what the Rito do. I took a bunch of notes and tried my best to be as thorough as possible, and ended up using another simple 1 to 5 scale for this one to get a good estimate. And side note, if you're thinking, hey, wait a second, this guy used a 1 to 5 scale for the past 2, but the business score was unbounded, wouldn't that make the comparisons skewed in the final score? And first of all, good looking out, very observant of you. Yes, you're right, it would, but don't worry. We're gonna standardize everything at the end before we start aggregating to make sure that everything's fair and even, alright? This ain't exactly my first rodeo. The next criterion is trade. Now, we often think of trade as occurring between nations, but it happens on the town and city level too. If a town has some specific good or service that will attract people to the town, or that they can export for a profit, then you're not just moving money around the same system, you're bringing in more. Every town gets a point for each unique good or service that they have, like the swift carrots of Kakariko or the construction services of Terrytown, that might attract outside visitors. They get a bonus point if that unique good appears elsewhere in the world. That's proof that they are actively exporting. And finally, they get a point for every piece of trade infrastructure, something that would enable traveling traders to come and go. This can be anything: roads, bridges, weird medieval trains, anything that makes it easier for customers to get in and goods to get out. And finally, we have infrastructure. This is similar to population growth, but instead of people, we're looking at new buildings. Building things costs a lot of money, so if a town is actively investing in new buildings, it probably means that they're doing pretty good. For this one, I just counted each new building in every town that was put up in the 5-year gap. Really wasn't all that hard. So, that's all 5 criteria and how I scored them. All we need to do now is standardize everything to make it on a scale from 1 to 10. We can do that using this formula, basically just look for the highest score in each category, then divide everything in that category by that number divided by 10. That will turn the highest score into a perfect 10 and scale everything else down accordingly. This works for everything except for infrastructure, which had some negative numbers, so I had to get a little funky, but we made it work. Then we can just take the average of these scores to get a final economy rating for every single town on a scale from 1 to 10. A score of 7 to 10 means that town is popping off and their economy is actively growing. 4 to 6 means it's pretty stagnant, and anything below that means their economy is falling, and you might want to get out while you still can. I was planning on revealing them in order from lowest to highest, but I'll just get the middle ones out of the way, because they're not that interesting. Lorellan Village scored 4.6. There's a lot of potential here. I mean, they've got delicious seafood, beautiful beaches, and even a full casino, but they're just not making the most of it. Kakariko scored 6.3 for just being pretty average in everything. It's mostly an agrarian town, and it seems like they're pretty content to just keep doing their own thing. And Gerudo Town got a score of 6.6. Doesn't seem like much has changed from game to game, which probably means their economy isn't growing. Though, credit where credit is due. Their economy may be static, but it's statically pretty high. There are a ton of shops around. They've got bars and secret clubs, and they're the only city that we know for sure is actively importing goods from elsewhere, specifically the jewels from Goron City. I have absolutely no idea where they're getting the money to do this. As far as I can tell, they don't have any goods of their own to sell, aside from maybe their craftsmanship. Look, maybe they're making business moves that I can't possibly understand. Maybe they've got a secret under-the-table deal with the Yiga. I don't know, and I don't want to know. Alright, getting into the goods section, slightly above them is Hateno Village, with a score of 7.7. Now, if you only looked at this town in Breath of the Wild, it wouldn't be all that impressive. It's got a couple of shops, it's mostly farmland, it's basically just Kakariko 2. But 5 years later, it's a whole new ballgame, baby. Kakariko who? Nah! Hateno Village is the place to be. The Ventus clothing boutique has absolutely exploded. It's become an international phenomenon, drawing visitors the world over. There are new buildings, new people, even a whole new school. This humble clothing store has turned this sleepy little farming town into the place to be in Hyrule. And sure, the mayor might not be too happy about it, but quite frankly, I think that means his time is up. Cece has already taken Hateno Village to the next level, and as your next mayor, I know she's just getting started. I mean, honestly, I don't see how electing a crazed capitalist with little to no experience in government to a position of power could possibly harm the economy in any way. What do you mean she's putting in tariffs? Before we reveal the top towns though, let's head down to the bottom, because we actually have a tie for last place. Zora's Domain and Rito Village both received a score of 3.7. And don't let the beautiful architecture and gilded weaponry fool you. This place is teetering on the edge of bankruptcy. When you look at the facts, the Zora literally have nothing going for them. Their only unique good that they have is fish, which they don't seem interested in exporting. Now, they could bring in a lot of money from tourism, and we do see some visitors in Breath of the Wild, but by the time Tears of the Kingdom rolls around, there's no outside interest. Probably because they literally have one shop. The only asset they really have is the East Reservoir. Now, its purpose isn't exactly clear. I'm gonna assume they use it for fishing because that's just about the only good they have. But by the time Tears of the Kingdom rolls around, the reservoir is completely destroyed and actively draining into an underground cavern. Look, Zora, I'm not telling you what to do, but King Dorephan is running this place into the ground. If I were you, I'd head down to Lorellan Village. Once they get the word out about that casino, that place is going to be the Atlantic City of Hyrule. And as for Rito Village, once again, I have absolutely no idea what these people even do. They kind of just stand around all day. They are also the only town who scored in the negatives for infrastructure. Not only did they not build anything new in the 5-year gap, but the one bridge that leads into town broke and nobody's bothering to fix it. Look, not everyone can fly, but that just leaves us with 2 more. Goron City and Tarrytown. Which of these will claim the title and the glory of the most prosperous town in all of Hyrule? Well, in a first for this channel, and as proof that the capitalist mentality that you can only get rich at the expense of others doesn't actually make that much sense, it's another tie. Tarrytown and Goron City both received a score of 8.7 for one reason and one reason only: insane growth. In Breath of the Wild, Goron City was a completely isolated little mining town that non-Gorons literally cannot visit because it's so hot that they'll spontaneously combust. They had an inn that nobody could stay at, a restaurant that was going out of business, a tiny store, and a shop that only sells heat-resistant armor, which, if you manage to make it into the town, you probably don't need. But just a mere 5 years later, this place is unrecognizable. Somehow, the Gorons have managed to cool off Death Mountain, allowing anyone to traverse it with ease. This allowed the small mining conglomerate Unobo Corp to start employing Hylians, and the expanded workforce has completely transformed this place. The lava fields have been drained and a ton of new mining infrastructure has been put in place, allowing them to easily harvest jewels that we know they are selling to the Gerudo. The armor shop is somehow even more useless because you don't even need the armor anymore, but who cares because they have freaking public transportation now. And remember the protein palace that was on the verge of going out of business? Well, I'm sad to say that they have closed that location and opened up a brand new one further down the mountain with an expanded menu to serve all the Hylians traveling to the town. Goron City is so popular, they need a freaking rest stop. Just you wait, give it another 5 years, and there's gonna be a McDonald's here, I'm telling you. But when you're talking about growth, you gotta talk about Tarrytown. This place was literally founded in Breath of the Wild. It was nothing but an empty field on the map. 5 years later, thanks to the tireless work of the Bolson Construction Company, this place is basically Hyrule's first suburbs. True, it's not a particularly diverse economy, it's a company town through and through, but that doesn't matter when it's one of the most successful companies on the continent. We know that the Bolsons are actively building new homes in Tarrytown. Hell, you can buy your very own for a hefty price. And while they don't have many goods to sell like the Goron's gems, they are selling their services to places like Hateno Village and Lorellan Village. Remember when I said that being able to afford to build new things is a sign of a good economy? Who do you think is cashing that check? There's no denying it, Bolson is a very, very rich man. And I'm telling you, all that money is gonna trickle down eventually. Just you wait. It hasn't yet, but it will. It will. Tarrytown is where it's at. And there you have it. Every town in Hyrule ranked by their economic prosperity. If you have any other suggestions for videos like this that you want to see, let me know in the comments down below. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a reservation at the new Protein Palace in about 15 minutes, which, let me tell you, was not easy to get. So, I'm gonna go enjoy myself a delicious rock roast, which I'm about 70% sure is not a real rock. Until next time. And a massive thank you to all my supporters on Patreon, including Alakazam, Aspa102, Big Dog Tie 4 to Win, Captain Kirby, Sidian, Sherry and Mark, Stylish, The Boss Killer 94, Tricks of Crows, and did you know that the character limit on the Patreon name is very high? Well, it is high enough, in fact, that I could name myself M. Thanks, M.